Many words used to describe the Quran is nazil. The Arabic word nazil can mean to descend or to come down, as in to come down from heaven. In Islam, the Quran is regarded as heavenly revelation that came down from Allah and was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. But what if I told you that most of the teachings in the Quran are actually made up? In Ali Imran verse 3, Muhammad is told these words about the Quran. He, that is Allah, has revealed to you, O Prophet, the book and truth, confirming what came before it as he revealed the Torah and the Gospel. According to the Quran, it was Allah who revealed both the Torah and the Gospel before the Quran, and he revealed them in truth. Well, if that's the case, then the Quran should be able to reflect the Bible, meaning that the teachings we find in the Quran should be able to reflect the teachings that we find in the Bible. This would make Islam's claim for the Quran being nazil true. But if the Quran cannot accurately reflect the Bible, then we will have to conclude that Islam is false. So without further ado, let's examine some of these teachings found in the Quran and how they compare to those of the Bible. And what better place to start than the focal point of the entire Bible itself, Jesus Christ. In Maryam 22 through 25, we read about the birth of Jesus Christ. So she conceived him, Jesus, and withdrew with him to a remote place. Then the pains of labor drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She cried, "Alas, I wish I had died before this and was a thing long forgotten." So a voice reassured her from below her, "Do not grieve. Your Lord has provided a stream at your feet. And shake the trunk of this palm tree towards you. It will drop fresh, ripe dates upon you." According to Surah Maryam, Jesus was born under a palm tree. We know for a fact that this does not correspond with the Bible, but it does sound awfully familiar to the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew found in the Apocrypha. Take a look. Pseudo-Matthew, chapter 20. And it came to pass on the third day of their journey, while they were walking, that the blessed Mary was fatigued by the excessive heat of the sun in the desert. And seeing a palm tree, she said to Joseph, "Let me rest a little under the shade of this tree." Joseph therefore made haste and led her to the palm, and made her come down from her beast. And as the blessed Mary was sitting there, she looked up to the foliage of the palm, and saw it full of fruit, and said to Joseph, "I wish it were possible to get some of the fruit of this palm." And Joseph said to her, "I wonder why you have said this, when you see how high the palm tree is, and you are thinking of eating its fruit? I am thinking more of the want of water, because the skins are now empty, and we have none to refresh ourselves and our cattle." Then the child Jesus, with a joyful countenance, reposing in the bosom of his mother, said to the palm, "O tree, bend your branches, and refresh my mother with your fruit." And immediately, at these words, the palm bent its top down to the very feet of the blessed Mary. The Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew isn't the only place the Quran borrows its work from. Listen to this little story from the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, another rendition from the Apocrypha. The following accounts we found in the book of Joseph the high priest, called by some Caiaphas. He relates that Jesus spoke even when he was in the cradle, and said to his mother, "Mary, I am Jesus, the Son of God, that word which you brought forth according to the declaration of the angel Gabriel to you, and my Father has sent me for the salvation of the world." Jesus speaking from the cradle That should sound familiar to our Muslim friends. Maryam 27 through 30. Then she returned to her people carrying him. They said in shock, "O Mary, you have certainly done a horrible thing." So she pointed to the baby. They exclaimed, "How can we talk to someone who is an infant in the cradle?" Jesus declared, "I am truly a servant of Allah. He has destined me to be given the scripture and to be a prophet. Peace be upon me the day I was born, the day I die, and the day I will be raised back to life." After giving birth to Jesus, Mary returns to her relatives with the baby. Her family is horrified to know that she has bore a son because she was not yet married to Joseph. But baby Jesus comes to the rescue and explains the situation to everyone by speaking right out of the cradle. Both of these stories are clearly plagiarized from the Apocrypha. Oh, by the way, did you notice this? Peace be upon me the day I was born, the day I die, and the day I will be raised back to life. This verse from the Quran clearly indicates a day of death and resurrection for Jesus, but a different verse from An-Nisa tells us that Jesus was never killed. They did not kill him nor crucify him, but it seemed so to them. And indeed, those who disagree about this are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge of it except pursuit of a superstition. They did not kill him for certain. Allah took him up to himself. This is a massive contradiction in the Quran. And if you're wondering about what supposedly happened to Jesus, then we need to look no further than the writings of the Islamic scholar Ibn Kathir. They, a group of Jews looking to kill Jesus, surrounded Isa in the house. And when he felt that they would soon enter the house or that he would sooner or later have to leave it, he said to his companions, "Who volunteers to be made to look like me, for which he will be my companion in paradise?" And a young man volunteered. Allah made the young man look exactly like Isa, while a hole opened in the roof of the house. And Isa was made to sleep and ascended to heaven while asleep. A group of Jews got permission to crucify Jesus, so they found the home that he was staying in and surrounded it. Knowing he wasn't going to be able to get away, Jesus supposedly asked for a volunteer to be disguised as him. A young man volunteered, and Allah made him look exactly like Jesus. Meanwhile, the real Jesus was asleep, and Allah took him up to heaven through an opening in the roof of the house. Yeah, this story can definitely be found in the Bible. It's in the book of Jude, chapter 2. I'm kidding, of course. This is yet another plagiarism copied from the Gnostic second treatise of the great Seth. For my death, which they think happened to them in their error and blindness, since they nailed their man unto their death. It was another upon whom they placed the crown of thorns. But I was rejoicing in the height over all the wealth of the rulers and the offspring of their error, of their empty glory. These are merely 3 examples of stories in the Quran that are stolen from fictional sources. And they all revolve around one topic: Jesus. We've barely scratched the surface here. We haven't talked about the teachings of the Holy Trinity in the Quran and where they come from. We haven't discussed the Quranic teachings regarding the Virgin Mary and where they come from. We haven't talked about the Prophet Abraham in the Quran and where those stories come from, and many other characters. But don't worry, we will. I'm going to make this a 3-part series, and we are going to explore the countless ways that the Prophet Muhammad stole fictional stories from non-biblical sources.